So why Cuba? What prompted you to visit there, to write about Cuba?
Yeah, it was a kind of natural subject for me to investigate because I did the Spanish democratization and tried the change from communism in Eastern Europe, and Cuba was the Hispanic communism. And at some moment after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, looked like something could happen there as well. So I went to Cuba from Spain, which was legal and even fashionable. And then, so I was very, very interested in that case, yes.
So what was the situation like there?
Well, this was a couple of years after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and the situation was terrible. It was the worst moment in the economy. So people were literally starving. So they were eating orange peels or banana peels, literally, or even worse things. And then I met a lot of people because people are very open there and very nice people actually. But I also met a number of dissidents in secret meetings. Sometimes clearly the secret police had a car in front of the house of the guy that I was visiting. It reminded me of the Spanish dictatorship, actually, these kind of secret meetings. And then at some moment I was talking on the phone with somebody, I thought it was one of them, turned to be a policeman from the Ministry of the Interior. So, kind of adventure, actually. And then after that, I met many Cuban Americans and Cubans in exile in Spain, in Mexico. I gave lectures at the University of Miami, many places. So I was very involved in the Cuban circles for a while, yes.
And did those primer interactions inform your research or your publication?
Yeah, no, I did. I did a number of publications. I can read just reading the titles, a number of articles, and that you will see more or less my idea. So first of all, after my first trip, the Cuban way to democracy was a speculation about whether in Cuba something like a democratization process could happen. And then the national Catholicism of Fidel Castro, when the Pope John Paul II visited Cuba, and Castro was trying to use religion as a tool to attract people to support the regime. After Fidel, what? So just about the future, right? What's going to happen? Exit, voice, and hostility in Cuba. This is Hirschman, more or less, model, because the immigration, massive immigration from Cuba, especially by educated people, etc., erodes the possibilities for protest inside the island. This has been very important. The hard-line military and the transition in Cuba, the irrevocable dictatorship, because I was mocking that they made a constitutional reform declaring communist irrevocable, even after Fidel, etc. Who could end the embargo regarding the tension between the U.S. and Cuba?
And you took that from a game theoretic perspective?
I did a little game theory on these kind of problems, yes. And I presented in a few places, even the Assistant Secretary of State for Cuba, so this kind of people. So I met many people. Transition in Cuba with a question mark. This was the last one in 2006, more or less.
So why not a book? Why all articles?
Oh, well, because I was pessimistic, basically. So at some moment I realized that my best article is one called Watching Neighbors, the Cuban Model of Social Control, which was published in an annual book, which is called Cuban Studies, so by the experts of Cuba. And this is a great theoretical model as well on the Cuban system of control, which is even worse than in the Soviet Union, much worse, and even worse than in East Germany, because it's not only a small body of secret police, but every citizen must report to their neighbors, to the state. And they have to report periodical reports about whether your next door neighbor has visits or listens to the radio or how he behaves, this kind of thing. So everybody is a police against everybody else, mutual espionage. Yeah. And then, so my model tried to show that it cannot work well because there are many incentives to cheat, or to be accomplice or not spying on each other. But anyway, so it was more an article about how the regime survives than how the democracy can flourish.
So what is your prediction about the future?
Well, the last exercise that I didn't publish was in Mexico. I organized a meeting a couple of days with Cubans, some of them recently in exile from the island, some of them having been in government recently, so they knew everything. And I tried to apply Bueno de Mesquita's model. Bruce Bueno de Mesquita is a professor in NYU and Hoover Institution. Has a very good model that has been applied to many conflicts, especially by the U.S. State Department, actually. So you have a list, as I did, in this case I did myself, is the relevant actors. Fidel Castro, his brother, Raul, the party, the army, the church, the dissidents, the United States, the Miami exile, etc. Okay, and then for each actor you need to identify how important the topic is.
Okay.
So it's more important for the Miami people than for the U.S. government. Okay, etc. No? And how powerful they are in producing change. Some of them are much more powerful than others. And what's their position? So more in favor of democracy, in favor of dictatorship, something between, they don't care, or whatever.
And the result?
And I ran several hypotheses, slightly changing, even with Fidel and without Fidel.
So many assumptions
about what the actors could do. And always the prediction was the dictatorship can survive. And then so it was so depressing that I decided not to publish the book. And for a while I forgot about it. It's still open because something always can happen. But this was just one more chapter in my research.